You know that moment when someone suddenly calls on you in a meeting, in a class, or even in a casual group, and says, "So, what do you think?" Your brain was full of thoughts just a second ago, but suddenly it goes blank. Your heart speeds up, your mouth goes dry, and all you can manage is a half sentence or an awkward smile. Later, you replay it and think, why am I like this? Why can't I just say something normal like everyone else? Psychology says this freeze response isn't proof that you're stupid or empty. It's actually a sign that your brain is doing a lot behind the scenes, especially under pressure. When you understand what your mind and nervous system are trying to do in those moments, you stop seeing yourself as someone who has nothing to say and start seeing yourself as someone who thinks so deeply that being put on the spot clashes with how you process. One of the biggest players here is your nervous system's threat response. When you're suddenly put on the spot, your brain can interpret it as a kind of social danger. Research on the fight, flight, and freeze response shows that freeze is not laziness. It's the body's way of pausing to assess a situation that feels risky. If you've ever been judged, mocked, or shut down for saying the wrong thing, your brain remembers that. So when all eyes turn to you, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, lights up. Blood flow shifts towards survival. And your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, can briefly go offline. That blank is not an empty mind. It's a protective pause. There's also the issue of working memory. That's like the mental notepad you use to hold and shuffle ideas while you speak. Deep thinkers tend to have rich, complex inner worlds, with many angles to consider. When someone suddenly says, "Tell us about yourself," or "What do you think of this?" your brain doesn't just grab the first answer. It tries to scan multiple options at once. Psychology calls this high self-concept complexity, because your sense of self isn't simple or one-dimensional. Under time pressure, working memory can get overloaded, and instead of choosing one path quickly, your system temporarily stalls. That silence you hate is actually your mind refusing to reduce you to a shallow soundbite. Self-consciousness and social evaluation are part of this too. If you're very aware of how others see you, your brain is not only trying to find an answer, it's also trying to predict how that answer will be judged. Research shows that people with higher self-monitoring spend more mental energy adjusting their behavior to fit the situation. So when you're called on suddenly, your brain is doing two jobs at once, creating a thought and editing it for approval in real time. That double tasking under pressure makes words harder to find. It's not that you have nothing to say. It's that your standards for what you say are high, and high standards need more time. Your default mode network, the system active when you're daydreaming or reflecting, also plays a role. Many introverts and deep thinkers do their best thinking before or after the moment, not in the middle of it. You might notice that brilliant replies come to you in the shower, on a walk, or hours after the meeting is over. That's your default mode network quietly working when no one is watching. Psychology says this reflective thinking style supports creativity and insight, but it doesn't always match the fast, performative style that public situations demand. So when you freeze in the spotlight, and then later think of 10 smart things you could have said, that's not your brain failing. That's your brain operating on its own timeline. Past experiences and perfectionism can also lock your tongue. If you grew up in environments where mistakes were punished, where you were told, "Think before you speak" in a harsh way, or where you were compared to louder, quicker people, your system may have learned that it's safer to say nothing than to risk saying the wrong thing. Perfectionism in social situations shows up as needing the right answer, or the smart answer. If your brain can't find that instantly, it chooses silence. Psychology frames this as a self-protection strategy. It's your mind saying, "I would rather seem quiet than feel shame." That might have helped you survive in the past, even if now it sometimes holds you back. So if you freeze when you're put on the spot, it doesn't mean you're dumb, boring, or broken. It often means your nervous system is sensitive to social threat. Your mind likes to think in depth. Your self-awareness is high. And your history has taught you to be careful with your words. Your blank moments are not a lack of thoughts. They're the collision of deep processing with sudden pressure. Next time you catch yourself going silent in the moment, and then overflowing with ideas later, try telling yourself, "My brain just needs more time." That doesn't make me less intelligent. It makes me a different kind of thinker. And if you want more videos that turn your most embarrassing habits into understandable psychology, subscribe. Share this with someone who always thinks of the perfect reply after the fact. And keep learning that your quiet pauses are not emptiness. They're depth, waiting for the right conditions.